Good evening, our top stories.
CBC News Vancouver at 6 with Aarti Pohl.
Good evening. A grim search on a river near Whistler.
It's Aarti.
Well, Gloria, police held a news conference late this afternoon and released a sketch of a suspect in the killing. The man police are looking for is also the suspect in a 2005 sex assault in Kelowna. It was just about an hour ago that the man friends say is the former boyfriend of Maple BATALIA walked out of this Surrey courthouse. 19-year-old Gurjinder Dhaliwal was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant to face assault charges. Well, crowds were loud and angry in Surrey today. More than 100 people protested a visit by former U.S. President George W. Bush. He and Bill Clinton were in town to speak at an economic summit. There still are a number of fires burning here in Bear Creek Provincial Park, and the evidence is everywhere. You can see charred trees, and there's a thick smell of smoke in the air. Now, fire crews are entering the final stage of this process called the mop-up. They will be cutting down trees like this that are quite burned to make the area safe. The other stage that they need to enter in the mop-up is making sure all of these fires are completely extinguished. What that means is actually physically going down, touching the ground, and seeing if the ground is warm. If it is, they need to make sure they douse that particular spot in water. While fire crews continue to do that, investigators are down in Bear Creek Canyon. They believe that is where the fire may have started. Aarti Pohl, CBC News, Kelowna. Well, Tony, it was here at the SFU campus in Surrey that Maple BATALIA was gunned down. Her parents say that she was here studying last night and on her way home when a gunman opened fire. And today they say they've lost the light in their lives.
I'm really brilliant. Dr. Martin, you have to do something.
Inconsolable grief. The painful cries of a mother forced to cope with the death of her young daughter. The aspiring model and actress was one of 3 children. Today, a steady stream of family and friends came to their home to pay their respects. With heavy hearts, they remembered Maple's joyful spirit.
Humble, amazing, gorgeous, and she had one of the most kindest hearts I've ever seen and known.
Her father says he's lost the most precious thing in his life.
God should have taken me instead of such a cute, darling child. It's all over.
The 19-year-old was busy working towards a career in acting and modeling, recently landing a role in the movie Diary of a Wimpy Kid, released earlier this year. Her dreams of being a star now dashed by a senseless shooting.
She was so talented, so soft-spoken. I never heard anything which would say, oh, Maple has done something wrong. We, as parents, my wife and myself, we never expected that this drastic thing would ever happen to her. Such a coward person has taken away her life.
Batalia's parents believe their daughter's death may be connected to a relationship that went sour. They say recently there was an altercation between their daughter and her ex-boyfriend at a coffee shop.
Aarti, what are police saying about a possible suspect?
Well, at this stage, RCMP can't even confirm that it was a targeted shooting, but they say they are investigating all working theories and not discounting any scenarios. Tony?
Thank you, Aarti.
We begin tonight with breaking news. RCMP have found David Wesley Bobbitt tonight. He's the man wanted for allegedly brutally beating and sexually assaulting a Penticton woman in front of her toddler.
CBC's Aarti Pohl is on the scene and joins us now with the latest. Aarti?
Well, you can still see a thick cloud of smoke behind me here. This has cleared up a considerable amount since we arrived earlier today. Fire crews have been trying to extinguish those flames all day, and despite the fact that the evacuation order has been lifted, the fire is still only 30% contained.
In Manitoba, a family is grieving after fire tore through their house last night, killing a toddler. And it's not the only fire in a First Nations community this weekend. Aarti Pohl reports.
I lost everything.
Cheryl Laporte lost her 2-year-old son Curtis last night. He was trapped in his burning family home. Laporte says she stepped out for a few minutes, leaving her 3 children at home with their father. When she came back, flames were shooting out of the roof.
Took me to the police car. Frank, the dad, was in there. My boy Frank was in there. Shailene was in there. My baby was gone. And
Frank yelled out and said that baby's still inside.
Little Curtis apparently tried to hide behind a couch.
We heard him crying, and I just dropped everything, and I went running, and then when they laid him on the ground, he just stopped, and the cop RCMP grabbed me and told me not to look at him because he's gone.
Investigators spent the day at the scene. They say the cause of the fire was a child playing with a lighter.
Well, a loss like this affects everybody because everybody knows each other out here. So it's something the whole community is going to have to go through within the next few days. It's just a little hard to speak about it right now.
This wasn't the only house fire to claim a life this weekend. A house fire on the Saugeen First Nation late Friday night destroyed a home, and one man living there didn't make it out in time.
Flames got pretty big.
Terry Kershane helped fight the fire, which killed one 44-year-old man and left another in critical condition.
Never heard anything, so we kind of figured no one was in there.
2 tragic endings in just one weekend. Curtis Laporte was supposed to turn 3 on Tuesday. Now, instead of a birthday, his family is planning a funeral. Aarti Pole, CBC News, Long Plain First Nation.
CBC News, Vancouver at 6 with Aarti Pole.
Well, summer has hit the halfway mark, and it is finally starting to feel like it here in Vancouver. One of the most anticipated events of the season is just hours away. Coming up, we will continue our countdown as we all gear up and get ready for Game 7.
The town of Emerson, Manitoba is in a state of emergency tonight, flooded by the record downpour that swept across most of the province this weekend. CBC's Aarti Pole surveyed the damage today as Manitoba struggled to dry out. Aarti?
Kim, the people of Manitoba are used to floods, but this weekend's torrential rainfall put them to the test. Completely miserable. If you happen to stay dry in Winnipeg, consider yourself pretty lucky. Over the weekend, thunderstorms and heavy rainfall caused all kinds of chaos. Dozens of cars ditched, people stranded.
A lot of roads were impassable. A lot of motorists were still trying to get through them.
Downed trees landed on cars and in some cases cut out power for hours. On Friday, lightning struck a church in Winnipeg, causing a partial collapse. But the region hardest hit, Emerson, Manitoba, about 100 kilometers south of Winnipeg, was drenched by record rainfall of more than 110 millimeters, forcing the town to declare a state of emergency. The highway through Emerson had to be closed because of all the water on the roadway, and many people in the province were dealing with this. Water in the basement.
I'm just besides myself. Like, I lived here for 9 years. I live alone.
Nearly everything in Diana Witwicky's basement is destroyed. People in Saskatchewan can sympathize with her. Their weekend wasn't any better. They too have been cleaning up a wet mess. Farmland in some parts of the province is saturated and seeding is behind schedule. In Manitoba, the heavy rain also means river levels are on the rise. The Red River rose nearly 2.5 meters in the last 2 days.
It is becoming a concern for the city.
Late today, the province decided to raise the Red River floodway gates to divert the river away from the city. And despite today's milder conditions, officials say stay alert. There's more rain in the forecast. Kim?
All right, thanks, Aarti. Aarti Pole in Winnipeg.
And now Vancouver police are expecting the largest crowd yet tonight. You'll remember that the last home game, there were 100,000 people that showed up downtown. Tonight, it already seems like there are larger crowds. Our Leah Hendry is keeping an eye on crowd control. And Leah, what are police saying tonight? It was nearly 2 weeks ago that protesters began to occupy the site outside of the Vancouver Art Gallery. And as you can see, there still are dozens of tents here, tents that both front-running mayoral candidates say must go. And now what's become a big focus is how those candidates deal with this and with ending the occupation. It's become a big focus in Vancouver's civic election. Police are now pleading with the public to come forward with information. They have yet to make any arrests in these 4 killings. Aarti Pole, CBC News, Vancouver. Thanks for being with us. Good night.